Good morning and welcome here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure my mic was on for a minute there. I thought maybe I missed it. Anyways, we're here for Friday night's ranking of the albums. Show that Ben and me put together. He came up with the suggestion. We talked about it for a bit and came up with a format for the show in which he gives me the albums from his vast collection of albums, and I listen to the albums and rank them according to how I like them. So the four albums in contention today, are Jethro Tull's Stand Up, The Tangents to Follow Polaris, Colosseum's Daughter of Time, and Supertramp's Slow Motion. Okay, so that's the four in contention. My job is now to rank them from top to bottom. So I've listened to all four. There's some similarities here between the four of them, and then there's some vast differences as well, which is, typical of most albums. But normally sometimes he gives me all albums from the same genre type thing. Sometimes he gives me four different ones. Sometimes a couple from this one, a couple from that one, and then sometimes it's kind of a mismatch of everything. So today I might say it's a bit of a mismatch. Although there is a common thread here on a couple of the albums that go through. Okay, so we're going to start with the album that's going to finish fourth here, and that's the Supertramp album, Slow Motion. This was actually a very disappointing album for me. Up until this point in my Supertramp history, I had liked every single album by them. This is the first one that, although I still passed it because it wasn't terrible, it wasn't really what I hoped it would be. I was looking forward to something different, and it wasn't that. It was, to be quite honest, it was a very sappy album in a lot of ways. Very slow, melodic, poppy at times. Nothing terribly memorable on the album at all, really. I listened to it in its entirety. Not a bad album. I don't think Supertramp's capable of that, but just the first time through, that's just my general feeling of the album. I'm hoping that if I listen to it again or a couple times again, it might surprise me a little bit. I just found it a bit on the sappy side. There's no Roger Hodgson vocals here, of course, but it's excellent as far as Rick Davis's vocal parts go. So anyways, it's going to come in here at number 4 by a fair bit. Like, it's not really close to the other 3 albums. So the number 2 album, this one, it finished slightly below the number 3 album. Finished slightly below the number 2 album. Not too far off, maybe like that level. I think this is a good album by The Tangent to Follow Polaris. Excellent heavy stuff on it, some catchy riffs. The vocals are good on this album. This is an album that I've looked into buying as well. I think it's a good album. I've done a video on it as far as what's new, because it's an album that just came out this year. Not too bad of an album at all, I think probably a little bit on the mid to high end of a 2 album. So definitely something worth purchasing and listening to again, and that's The Tangents to Follow Polaris. The next album out of the gate is number 2, slightly better than the Tangent album. I found this album a little bit heavier, I think, and that's probably the reason why it ends up number 2, and that's Colosseum's Daughter of Time. A heavier album, got some bluesy aspects to it as well. I think it's a good, solid album. It's an album that I think I need to go back and listen to a few more times to really get a strong feel for it. But the initial feel for it was strong enough to make it a number 2 album. So the number 1 album, I thought it would be number 1 going in. I tried to be unbiased about it, but I thought it would be number 1 going in just because of my familiarity with it, if for no other reason. Plus, I think it's a really good album. Jethro Tull's Stand Up. This is an absolute excellent album. I think it wins here fairly easy. I don't think it dominated quite as much as I thought it would. The other albums, especially the one from Colosseum, I think were much more of a competition for it than I thought they were going to be. But in the end, it still won out. This is Jethro Tull's first kind of album with Martin Barre, and kind of their first fully Jethro Tull sounding album. The first one wasn't as much more bluesy, that album, than this one. This one has a lot more folky sound to it. Of course, it has Fat Man, which is absolutely a killer tune. It also has Bure, I think, is on this. Yep, Bure is on here. But most of the songs on here are solid Jethro Tull's album songs, I mean. So for me, this ranked number 1 and will go on to the semifinals. I'm not sure when that will be, but I know when the semifinals will be. I just don't know when this album will show up in that. So there you have it. Jethro Tull wins this fairly easily with its stand-up album, and will go on to the semifinals. The number 2 album, of course, Colosseum, Daughters of Time. Number 3, The Tangent, to follow Polaris. And number 4, Supertramp's Slow Motion. So starting next Friday, we will have the first of the 2 semifinals. I leave the competitive competitiveness of Ben to put these 8 albums that we have done into 2 groups of semifinals, and then give me the list that he wants for the first semifinal, and that we will know about that by Sunday when I do this week, which will be my 100th episode of this week. I hope people will join in and see that. I have decided I'm going to do one special video for it. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do yet, but we will be doing that probably Sunday. So anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Ranking the Albums. We've now completed round 2, or our second time through, with 8 full episodes, and we will do the 2 semifinals and the finals. So I hope to see you. Please hit the like and subscribe. Make your comments. Rank these albums how you feel they should be ranked, and hit the notification bell, and we will see you next week for the first semifinal. So take care and have a good one. Goodbye.